Hey guys, Dave from DE Services here. So today I'm going to show you about how I cut and set up on the miter saw, on the compound miter saw. There's a few different ways to do this here, and one being that, you know, on this specific saw there's a compound miter setting. You can actually lay the crown flat on the table here, and you can tilt and miter the saw, you know, depending on what you actually want to do. Some saws have a table on it. This one does not. It tells you what you need to do as far as, you know, what degree you're going to put the actual miter on, and then what degree the compound would actually need to be on. When you do this for a living as a contractor, it's actually a lot faster to do it the way that I'm going to show you. And I had a couple of people comment and request to see how I actually do the crown myself. So this is what I'm going to show you in today's video. Alright, so the first thing that I do right off the bat is I build a fence. Okay, and depending on what size saw you have depends on how high you could actually build your fence off the table. This saw is actually a pretty decent saw from DeWalt. It's a 12-inch compound miter, and when you lower it down all the way, you can see that it doesn't hit the fence. If it does hit the fence, it's going to start to bind on you depending on what you're doing. So what I do is I kind of trim, I cut a little bit of an angle, and then I swing the saw to the left and to the right to get the miters in here to open this up. We don't want anything getting caught in this area here. If it does, it's going to probably throw it back to the saw, it's going to chip up, it's going to hit you, it's probably going to hurt. Alright, the next thing I do is, depending on the size of the crown molding, this stop here is variable. You can move this up and down depending on the height of the crown, which I will show you in a minute. But again, like I said, it's variable, so, you know, depending on what size crown you need to install, this will move up and down, and you know, the thickness of this block could also change too. Obviously, if you have like a 6-inch crown and it comes up to about here, obviously you can't have a 2-inch block, because then it would stick up higher than your fence. So now what I'm going to do is show you a little bit about the crown. Alright, so this crown laying flat on the table here. So this is just a typical colonial type crown, and it has your, you know, basic back cuts on it so it can get installed on the ceiling. So if I'm about to hold this up here and this was to get installed on the ceiling, this would be the wall, and this part over here would be the ceiling. Okay, it goes like this. Now, something you have to understand when you're cutting on a saw, the way I'm going to show you is everything gets marked and cut from the bottom. Okay, so when this piece of molding gets put on the saw, it gets put on upside down. So I'm going to flip this around, and I want to show you how it actually goes on the saw. So it actually will go on the saw like this. Now, what I'm going to show you here is why these blocks are important. So if I come around to the back of the saw, you can see that the part that's actually on the wall right here is nice and flush. Even here, it's not tilted this way or the other way. That's the purpose of the block, is for a stop. This way it stops up here nice. Okay, you can see that. And this is how we set up for our initial cutting. Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys how we cut an outside miter. Typically, it would be a 45-degree cut for a perfect 90-degree miter. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to set the saw to 45 degrees. A lot of saws lock in, so you could just move it either way, and it'll eventually lock in. And what I do is I slide the piece of wood. Now you got to remember, everything is upside down, so take that into consideration. Okay, keep your fingers away from the saw blade. After the cut, let the blade stop before you lift up the blade, otherwise you'll start to chip this nice cut that you made. So that is basically a perfect way to cut a 45. And what I'm going to do is quickly just go through the other side and show you how the miter is made up. Again to 45. Fingers away from the blade. Let the saw blade stop. Now you take the piece from before, okay, the piece that's after. Now you can see that makes a perfect 45-degree angle, and the cut looks good. Now it is upside down, so when you turn this right side up, okay, it makes a perfect 45-degree angle. Nice cutting. Cut. Alright guys, now we're going to set up for either inside mitering or set up for a cope. Now one thing you have to understand is, because the piece is upside down, everything is opposite on an inside miter or cope. So for instance, if the saw is pointed to the left, you're actually coping the right side or mitering the right side. If the saw is angled on the right side, you're coping the left side or mitering the left side. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. It's the same way as an outside miter, except that it's for the inside. You let the saw blade stop and come up. Okay, you got a nice cut here. And I'll quickly go through the other side again. So we're going to just cut this off. Put that over here. We swing the saw over back over here to 45 again. Hands away from the blade. Stop. Now you see how that got caught when I was lifting up the blade? That can happen when the saw blade's spinning. This piece could go flying in the back here and damage something. So now I'm going to show you this as an inside corner. It's kind of hard to hold, but there you go, that's your inside corner. So everything is opposite again. Now, no corner, inside corner or outside corner, is usually perfectly 90 degrees. You more so see it with the inside corners, because the outside corners you have a little bit of room to manipulate the corner and then you can caulk it in. With the inside corners, it's very hard to caulk it and make it look good. So what I do is, unless it's on cabinets, which I know are perfectly 90 degrees, then we won't miter. We will cope them. And this basically sets up for a cope. So I want to explain this to you real quick. So this is the piece that would be on the left side. So if I was to flip this around on the saw and cut that, that's going to be a right hand cope for the left piece. This is why everything is backwards. Okay, same thing with this one. This is the right side. I flip this around on the saw and it's the left side. I know this sounds a little confusing, but it's a lot easier to do once you understand what we're actually doing. Okay, and that's how the miter lines up. So you can watch my other videos regarding coping, okay? But basically what we do is this gets cut off straight, okay? So this corner is no longer here. And then this whole entire profile gets either cut out with a coping saw or grind out. And the key to doing this is cutting a big chunk of the back out. It's called back cut. Because what happens is when this piece as a cope goes into the other piece, you need to make up this whole entire difference of the miter. So it just slides in. So you can watch my other video regarding coping,